Welcome back to the channel. Exciting new series time. We thought it would be a really good idea to take you through the process of making the surfboard, start to finish, all the little techniques that I've learned over the years and why we're so well known at Collab for making really high quality surfboards. I'm going to let you into all the secrets. I'm going to make a board absolute start to finish, from the shaping process all the way through to the sand finish until it's literally in the customer's hands. So welcome to my natural habitat. I'm not just a guy who talks rubbish. I do actually use these every now and again as well. So the first part of the video is the shaping off the machine. So where we've got to so far in the stage of the surfboard's life is that I have designed a surfboard on CAD software. I've allocated a blank that board will fit inside. I've taken the blank to a surfboard machine, and the surfboard machine has cut out the CAD design file from that blank. And now I'm at that stage. Now, if you're interested in making your own surfboard and you want to grab your own blank and use a machine shape to do it, you can. There's software that you can download now at home. I use AccuShaper and Shape3D, which are really, really good CAD software for surfboard shapers. And you can download that at home now, and then you can send your file to a factory like us or a factory nearer you to get the board cut off the machine. Then jump on these videos to show the rest of the process on how to make a surfboard. If you want a hand shape, let me know in the comments. If you want, we can do a hand shaping video as well, where we go old school, take a blank and make a surfboard out of it. But this series is basically about showing you all the little refining details that it takes to hand make a surfboard, because a lot of people think that you use a machine and suddenly all the work's done. You're going to see in this series that there is a lot that goes into making a surfboard. I love it as well. I'm such a geek. This is what I do in my spare time. I'm constantly making boards and trying new things and always looking at how we can perfect it and make it better. So to share that with you is really, really cool for me, and I'm really looking forward to this. So the board we're going to make is, because it hasn't got anything crazy different, this is what I would call like a standard stock board. We're going to start with that in the series, and then maybe after this board's completely finished, we'll move on to some different stuff like resin tints and glass on fins and epoxy lambs and all of that sort of stuff. If this catches fire and you guys are genuinely interested in what we do with our hands to make these surfboards, we'll keep evolving this series. But for now, we're doing a 6-7 mod up on the Form brand, which is a brand that we sell exclusively with Board Shop UK. So if you want to look at all of their stock boards, just jump on their website, boardshop.co.uk. You'll be able to find the stock board. So this is for their stock, and it is a 6-7 mod up, which is made from PU construction. It's going to be clear white finish with one very simple logo, top and bottom. Aesthetically, really, really nice board, and it's just a brilliant board to work on for the purpose of this video, because there's no crazy intricacies. It's just nice and simple. So this video, I'm going to shape. This is how I get it off of the machine. I don't know if you can see the lines on the machine. We'll get some close-ups and stuff as well. But I'm in a shaping bay which has low side light, and what these lights are doing is casting a shadow, hitting the rail and casting a shadow over the flat surfaces of the board, so I can see any imperfections and I can get my concaves equal on both sides. Basically, so I can get a nice flat board. This is what we're achieving. Now, the CAD software and the surfboard machine have done 85–90% of the work for me. All I have to do is flatten it and prepare the surfaces for lamination, making sure my concaves are all smooth, making sure my nose and tail foils are exactly how I want it on the model, and making sure my string is nice and flat so it doesn't rise up and affect the integrity of the laminate after you've sanded the board. So I'm going to take you through all of those processes today. This is going to be the first video in a series.
So the tools you're going to need are rough grit sandpaper. That's an 80 grit sandpaper on a softer pad. And that is 180 grit sandpaper on an even softer pad. I've got my ultimate soft pad, which is a really soft sponge with 400 grit. Then I have a balsa block, nice and flat on one side, really lightweight, with 40 grit. And then this is another balsa block with 120 grit, super light, super strong. I really recommend balsa wood for your pads. That is a hand plane to get the stringer down in the nose department or anywhere there's lots of curve. And then that's a hand plane to get the stringer down on the flatter parts of the board. There is my gauze. That is a finishing gauze that I use just to clean the board up at the end. And then that is my rough gauze, which I use to sort of cut the rails a little bit more, get them into the shape nice and smooth that I want first. Then obviously you're going to need a ruler just to check everything's nice and even. And then this is a fin gauge. Now if you haven't got a fin gauge, you can lightly pencil parallel lines on the board. Then there's my hand sander with a hard pad and 120 grit sandpaper on the pad, and then obviously every shape you need to pencil. First thing I do with the board is I use my machine and I grind down the tail foil nice and neat, exactly how I want it, and I do the same thing with the nose just to make sure I get those foils really nice and clean. Then I'm going to take the lines down with my soft pad with rough grit on, and every time I take a layer down with my pads, I then take the stringer down as well to make sure that it remains really flat. So after I've scrubbed out all the lines with my pad, I'll take the stringer down nice and neat, making sure that I'm not ripping the foam, but I'm not leaving excess stringer on top as well. Then I'm going to use my softer pad with the higher grade sandpaper, and I'm going to smooth over what I've just done and make sure that the board is nice and flat. Then I'm obviously flipping it over to the deck and doing the same thing. So rough pad first, stringer down. It's a nice action there just to get the stringer down. And then softer pad. This is just a little bit of pressure. If you've got compressed air, brilliant, because it's good for getting the wood out of the way so you don't get scratches. But here's a good angle of me just smoothing out where I've gone over with my softer pad. If your pad's creating lines, you want to be really smooth with it. Notice I'm being quite deliberate with the curving of the pad over the rail as well. So after I've got both sides nice and flat, I will then shape the railing with my slightly less coarse block. Now, what that's doing is I'm taking the lines out, obviously, but I'm trying to get the hard edge transitioning into the soft rail of the board exactly how I want. So first thing I do is with a hard block going over the rails, and then I will use my rough gauze, and my rough gauze just follows my block lines. So my block lines are really what I shape the rail with and what I transition the hard edge into the soft edge with. And then once I've got it how I want it, the gauze just smooths it all out. And once I've gauzed it all, as you can see, I take my really soft pad and I start fine-tuning the bottom of the board into the hard and soft edges so I can really get it nice and sharp. And if you can see the shadows hitting the rails, you can notice they're really nice and they follow a straight line. They're not wobbly, because that means that I've got nice straight lines on my rails, and that's what you're aiming to do. You want to try and get the board as symmetrical, smooth and round as possible in all the right places. I'll continuously be feeling the board like this, even when I'm just moving the board about. I can always feel one rail being softer or harder, or one with a little bit more foam, and it's just, I do everything shape and feel based to make sure it's nice and even. And here I am marking the fins. So I've marked the dots for my rear fin and the dots for my thruster side fins. Just so you know, this is a 6/7 board, and I've marked the rear fin at 3 3/4 up from the tail, and the side fins I've measured at 11 3/4 it was. They are 1 1/4 inch off the rail, and then they have a 1/4 toe at 4.5 inches. So once I've measured my fin dots, one little final check over, make sure she's all good. Blow off all the excess dust. I'll write the serial number on the stringer, and then the board is now ready to get its fin plugs in.
Right, board's all done and shaped. Easy, isn't it, really? We obviously did the voiceover because it's noisy and I've got a mask on while I'm shaping. I think it's better to give you a sort of realistic go through rather than keep on stopping and talking about points that hopefully I have made quite well with the voiceover. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment and subscribe. Hold on. We're going to be releasing these every Friday. So next Friday, we are going to be putting in the fin boxes before lamination. So stay tuned for that video coming up if you want to know how to do the fin boxes. That will be coming out next Friday.